The U.S. Supreme Court is supposed to be the gold standard of ethical, apolitical, objective justice in our nation. And yet today's High Court finds itself under a cloud of severe scrutiny and deserved suspicion. And this residue of at least perceived corruption and deceit, well, it all stems from a few different places. Now, the obvious starting points are the recent reports that Justices Alito and Thomas have received extremely lucrative luxury gifts from billionaires that contribute millions of dollars to the Republican Party, and Alito even refused to recuse himself from a Supreme Court case where one of his benefactors was a party. And you mean to tell me I'm supposed to believe that that is fair or impartial justice? Please. And then Professor Dyson, he made a brilliant point today. Since we all know that the fish stinks from the head, Justices Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, well, they all, quite frankly, smell rotten. And that's because all three Supreme Court justices were appointed by then-President Donald Trump. You know the one, the only American president in history to be impeached twice. And he's the same one who is currently carrying two different criminal indictments, one from New York State and the other from the U.S. federal government. Yeah, well, that guy is still suspected to have been put into the highest office in the land with substantial help from a foreign aide, a.k.a. Russia, a.k.a. Vladimir Putin. And while there is no current conclusive finding around that assistance, the whole thing simply stinks. And I am not willing to look the other way. Not when affirmative action, reproductive rights for women, gun safety, student loans, LGBTQ+ rights, the environment, and so much more is at stake. See, I think it's time to take action and for us to all do something that's not particularly radical and actually has legal and applicable precedent. Since at least 3 of the current 9 justices have an asterisk beside their name, let's round out the possibility of reestablishing our highest court's honor and credibility. And we do this by expanding the court from 9 to 13. Now, before you all start doing a dark analysis of packing the court or other misleading and pejorative narratives, just remember that we did not always have 9 Supreme Court justices. That's not some magic number. It's not a mandate. This country, our country, well, we used to only have 6 Supreme Court justices. And we also used to have 9 U.S. appellate circuits. But you know what? Now we have 13. So expanding the court isn't so much about a radical Monday morning quarterback solution as much as it's a common sense solution and one that solves a few problems at one time. You see, the best Supreme Courts in American history have been the ones that have maintained ideological balance. And listen, we don't have that now. And since Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett are all relatively young, America will not see a balanced Supreme Court for at least a generation. And I'm not prepared for my children, or frankly yours, to endure the societal and political devastation that will assuredly bring. So Black America, we've got to pay close attention, and we've got to really consider the Judiciary Act of 2023. It was introduced to Congress in May, and it seeks to bring the total number of U.S. Supreme Court justices to 13. Now, you might be hearing this and thinking it's a pie-in-the-sky political talking point, but I assure you it doesn't have to be. We simply need to decide that we want to center this issue on Black America's political agenda. And then we've got to do everything that we can, everything that's in our power, at the ballot box to make it a reality.